So hey guys, today on the bench we have some batteries sent to us from APTOOLER, and they contacted me about possibly looking at some of their batteries and seeing what we thought about them. And they agreed, as I mentioned in a previous video about looking at some products people send me, they did agree when I asked them back about sharing a view inside, looking at it, and just being an honest review. They definitely agreed and said they wouldn't expect anything any differently, so kudos to them for that. I thought that was great. And these are going to be Makita style batteries. And they even come with a little storage mount for each battery, and that's a pretty neat feature there. And that's what the battery looks like, a 6 amp hour with a fuel gauge. And I don't have any Makita batteries that actually have a fuel gauge, so that's going to be my first. It's got a good looking feel to it, honestly. Surprisingly, they came fully charged, which some lithiums don't. Give you a quick look at the battery user manual here, if you would like to pause it. So mounting hardware and mounting the storage brackets. So I guess I should show how that fits. Fits great. Pretty cool. So one of the first things I want to do is just check the voltage. We know the battery gauge shows full, but just how high are we? And we are at 20.19 volts. And on this one, let's get the polarity right here. 20.11 volts. So we'll throw it in one of my old tried and true Makita drills. This is a LXP 801 1/2 inch. Just a good old hammer drill. No problem noted there. So what I do have is some original Makita, but they're 3 amp hour. They are the same physical size. I have 2 of these as well. And these do have some age on them, but they've been good batteries, no doubt about it. Got nothing negative to say. But just taking a quick physical look at the similarities on the outside. We see our vents here for cooling on both. Slightly different, but yet again fairly similar. Spring pressure. I can just say that spring is a little weaker, but it doesn't feel tremendously lighter. The difference in the connectors there is minimal. Both the Makita as well as the APTOOLER battery seems to be a T10 security bit. And there we go. See our thermal there, and there's our little fuel gauge. That slides up easy. That's a good thing, so it don't get broke. It just slides right out. Don't see any cushioning right off, but came right out easy. Here's a look at our cells, if you're interested there. Must be a temperature sensor there. Yep, there it is right there. Looks like a thermistor taped on. I guess that is held up off the bottom there. Look at one of my original 3 amp hours. Just comes out too as well with no rubber cushion on that one either. On my genuine Makita BL1830. The cells themselves have a little bit better, you know, grid or protection to them, but not tremendously different. So with the Makita back together, before I put the BL1860B back together, I'm just going to check and see how well this is balanced. So 20.09 volts. And make sure you can see the meter here. 4.0, almost 0.02. Almost 4.02. Was very well balanced. Awesome. Well, A+ for that. Just figured we'd check that before we put it back together. So right now I'm charging these batteries. One of my 3 amp hours, that's an older pack. And these two, which this last one is charged here. And we'll just do a load test compared to how low these typically pull down and cut off on Makita. So after charging all the batteries up full, I took 2 original Makita batteries and ran them down until they cut out. This one here will run a little bit more. Let's see what it does. All right, so we are at cutout point. Let's see what that voltage level is. It's rising a little bit. We'll say like 12.8 volts. Let's see what this one does. Yeah, 12.5 won't even start it, so. So we'll stick with 13 volts for our load test, for our cutout point. So back with our load test set for 13 volts, which was our tested cutout, even though that's only around 2.6 volt per cell, that is where my tools and the vintage tools that I have on Makita does shut off. So to be fair to the amp hour rating, I'm going to hook our battery up and make sure everything is clear here. Amp hours, capacity is all cleared. As soon as I go up on the current here, above a 1/2 amp, it'll start calculating up the watt hours. I'm just going to go to roughly probably about 6 amps. So roughly an hour, and we should be close to capacity on this pack. So I'm just going to let this run, and the time's going to count for us to save video time, and we should just be right back when the test is complete. So it looks like we're right at 4 amp hours, and the reason the test went almost 57 minutes is because I did cut this down to less than 1 amp load when it got to about 16 volts, just to be fair, so it didn't just pull down and shut off too quick. So we're looking at right at 69 watt hours, and of course, as we mentioned, 4 amp hours on this first one. We'll test the other one, and we'll see what the results is on it as well. So to give it a fair test, I'm going to test the second one as well. Everything's reset. We're getting right at 20 volts. When I cut this up above a half an amp, it's going to start. And to be fair on this one, we're only going to go about 2 amps. And we'll come back and we'll check on it. And we'll see if this one did about the same thing as this one. We'll put a heavy load on for majority of the test. So looking like this one's not going to quite make it to 4 amp hours. Yep, there we go. There's our cutoff point. Cut our current down. We ran this test at roughly 2 amps through the whole test, so not quite 4 amp hours on this one. We're showing 3.73 at 2 amps drain. So it's actually just a little bit less than the first one we tested, even though we started off at 6 amps and come down to 1 amp in the lower third or so of the test. To be fair, these hit right at 20 volts. This one just come off the charger. So right at 4 volts per cell, instead of packing that 4.2 volts per cell is what the Makita charger does. So to be fair, they could have a little bit more amp hour rating, but we're still shy from the 6 amp hour. But overall, the batteries did perform well. So next up, even though my batteries are older, I'm going to give the 3 amp hour Makita battery the same test, because being charged at 4 volts and depleted down to 13 volts, it's probably going to be, I'll be surprised if it wasn't shy of the 3 amp hour as well. Not getting the full capacity out of the cells at 4 volts per cell. So we'll get this hooked up, make sure we got a fully charged one and get it hooked up, and we'll be right back. So back now with one of my 3 amp hour original older Makita batteries. And just for comparison, we'll run a test on it. So we'll put it right around 2 amps of a current draw load as well. We'll be back about the time it goes to cut off on us. So on this 3.0 amp hour, 2.27 amp hour, so we'll do another one and we'll see how it does as well, and we'll be right back. So with another 3 amp hour Makita original battery with some age on it, we'll see here we got 20 volts fully charged. We'll go up to about 1.5 amps if we can here. And we'll let this run. And we'll see how this second Makita 3 amp hour does in comparison. We'll be right back when it's done. So this one, 2.13 amp hour. Of course, with some age on them, as well as we discussed here, not charging all the way to 4.2 volts per cell. We're losing a little bit of capacity that the cells will be recognized as. That is doing it with my Makita charger that I've had for years. So it charged all these batteries the same, and altogether here I had 5 to test with. The 2 that was sent to me that's new, as well as my original. So these batteries did perform well on the charger. They charged up fine and charged up to around 20 volts, just like my original 3 amp hours. Of course, the older tools that I have do not use the center connector that the charger uses to verify the condition of the battery and monitoring. As the drill here, we just have our plus and minus and our TH or our thermal input. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with the batteries. I really have nothing negative to say. I mean, the capacity of it, I think at 4.2 volts and bring them down would have been really, really close or closer to the 6 amp hour rating, just as these would have been. Even though these are a little older, they still fell short since they charged a 4 volts per cell. I would say this is probably more like a 5 amp hour pack, but still very satisfied with the pack and how well it works. So I'll try to have a link in the description of the video if you're interested for the two 18 volt 6 amp hour packs, as well as the battery mount, all is included as one kit. I'll also try to include a coupon or a discount code that hopefully they'll provide for us if you find that to be helpful. If you found this video helpful today, looking inside of these batteries and doing a little testing with them, please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and God bless.